You've been affirming like your life depends on it, telling yourself, I am wealthy, I am loved, I am chosen, every single day. But deep down, nothing's changing. Your reality still looks the same, and you're starting to wonder, is this all just wishful thinking? Here's the truth. The law of assumption isn't broken, but the way you're using it might be, and no one talks about that part. Everywhere you turn, it's the same thing. Just assume the wish fulfilled, just believe, just persist. But what if I told you that you could be doing all of that and still pushing your desires further away without even realizing it? In this video, I'm breaking down 6 subtle signs you're misusing the law of assumption, and more importantly, how to fix each one so you can finally manifest what you've been waiting for. Let's get into it. Let's be honest. When most people first hear about the law of assumption, they jump straight into affirmation overdrive. I am rich, I am loved, I am successful. Repeat it 50 times a day. Write it on your mirror. Whisper it in your sleep. But here's the thing. If you're saying all the right things but your body feels tense, your chest feels tight, and your mind is screaming, this isn't true. You're not assuming. You're forcing. And the law doesn't respond to force. It responds to state. Assumption isn't about repeating a phrase until your mouth is dry. It's about gently shifting into a state where the thing you want already feels natural, obvious, even boring. Think about this. You don't have to convince yourself the sky is blue. You just know. It's a quiet confidence. That's the energy assumption is built on. So if you're trying to bulldoze your way into belief, stop. Take a breath. Instead of yelling, I am rich when you're panicking about bills, try something softer, something calmer. Like, of course, money finds me. It always does. Feel the difference? You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to feel safe enough to let the ideas settle into your nervous system. That's where the shift happens, not in your voice, but in your state. Now, once you stop forcing and start relaxing into the knowing, you'll notice something else that might be getting in the way. Let's talk about that next. Here's something most people don't realize at first. The law of assumption isn't meant to help you escape your life. It's meant to help you transform it. But if you're using it like a spiritual escape hatch, repeating affirmations just to avoid your pain, pretending everything's fine when it isn't, that's not creation. That's denial. And denial doesn't manifest. It just buries what needs to be seen. Sometimes we think if we just ignore the struggle long enough, if we slap enough high vibes on top of it, it'll go away. But ignoring a wound doesn't heal it. It festers. Real assumption doesn't come from pretending the problem doesn't exist. It comes from acknowledging where you are and still choosing to assume better. You can say, I feel heartbroken right now, but I know love still finds me. Or, this situation hurts, but I'm becoming someone who always wins. That's powerful, that's creative, that's real. So if you've been using the law to escape your reality instead of rewriting it, it's okay. You're not doing anything wrong, just gently shift. Let your assumptions rise from truth, not fear. And once you do that, once you stop running and start rebuilding, you'll start to notice another pattern that's been quietly slowing you down. All right, let's talk about something a lot of us secretly struggle with. Trying to figure out the how. You've set the intention, you've assumed the desire, but then you start analyzing. Okay, but how is it gonna happen? Should I text them first? What if I don't do enough? Maybe I need to visualize harder. Sound familiar? Look, we do this because we want control. We think if we can predict the steps, we'll finally feel safe. But here's the truth that stings a little. The moment you start obsessing over how your desire will unfold, you've stepped out of the assumption that it's already done. You're back in the waiting room. You're back in uncertainty. You're back in a version of you who doesn't have the thing yet. But the version of you who has it, they're not worried about how, they're just living. They're chilling. They're brushing their teeth, cooking dinner, laughing at memes, all from the state of, this is already mine. So here's your fix. Drop the how. Let it go. Instead of micromanaging the path, focus on embodying the end result. Ask yourself, if I already had this, what would I be doing today? Then do that. The universe is a master planner. You don't need to figure out the GPS when you've already chosen the destination. Now that we've cleared that up, let's talk about something sneakier. A habit that seems harmless, but might be sabotaging your assumptions from the inside out. Let's say you spend 10 minutes every morning affirming, I always get what I want. I'm chosen. I'm abundant. Sounds powerful, right? But then the rest of your day sounds like this. Ugh, I'll never be able to afford that. Of course they didn't text back. They never do. Why would anyone pick me anyway? Yeah, that's a problem. Because the law of assumption is based on dominant state, not how good you sound during your affirmations, but how you actually live and think when no one's watching. You might be assuming your dream life for 10 minutes, but if you're doubting the other 23 hours and 50 minutes, guess what's winning? Exactly. Now, this isn't about blaming yourself. We've all picked up habits, scrolling through lack, complaining with friends, self-deprecating jokes, that quietly anchor us to an old identity. The fix? Start catching those habits in real time. Not with guilt, not with panic, just with awareness. Oh, that thought doesn't match my new reality. Let me choose a better one. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start building consistency. Train your mind to stay loyal to your assumption, not your fears. And when you do that, when your habits start reflecting your higher state, you create something even more powerful, inner evidence, which brings us to something that often trips people up, especially when they think they're doing everything right. You've been assuming, you've been visualizing, you've been doing all the right things, but then you keep checking the phone, checking the bank account, checking their Instagram story just to see if the universe heard you. And when nothing shows up, you start spiraling. Maybe it's not working. Maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe this whole thing is just fake. Pause right there. Here's the truth. If you're constantly scanning for evidence, you're not in the assumption, you're in the absence. You're not being the version of you who has the thing. You're being the version who's still waiting for it to happen. And the law doesn't respond to waiting energy. It responds to being energy. Think about it. A person who already knows they're wealthy doesn't refresh their bank app every 10 minutes. A person who feels loved doesn't obsess over whether someone texted them good morning. They're not performing for signs, they're just living in alignment, knowing it's already done. So if this is you, here's the shift you need. Stop needing proof. Start being the proof. Ask yourself, how would I move today? What would I wear? What would I expect, avoid, accept? If I already had what I wanted, then do that. That's embodiment. That's the evidence that shifts your entire field. And once you start being the version of you who already has it, there's one final mistake you need to avoid, one that's usually wrapped in good intentions, but quietly keeps your desires just out of reach. Let's be real. Most of us first stumble onto the law of assumption looking for a quick fix, a way to get the thing, the money, the text, the dream house, the glow up, and that's okay. Desire is divine. But here's where it gets tricky. If you treat the law like a temporary hack, like something you use until your manifestation shows up, it won't stick. Because the law isn't a technique, it's a reflection of who you are consistently. This is not a one-week challenge. This is an identity shift, a lifestyle, a decision to show up again and again as the version of you who already has what they want. So if you only affirm when things feel good, if you only assume when you're in the mood, if you're bouncing from practice to practice hoping one finally works, you're not living the law, you're testing it. And the law doesn't respond to tests, it responds to embodiment. Here's your shift. Stop treating assumptions like a spiritual vending machine. Start treating it like the air you breathe. Make it your norm to speak with confidence. Make it your norm to expect the best. Make it your norm to return to your power, even when life shakes you. Because that's when everything starts to shift. Not when you try harder, but when you become the version of you who no longer tries. You simply are. If you've been stuck, it's not because the law of assumption is broken. It's because your inner world needs a quick tune-up. Make these shifts today and watch how fast things begin to change. Remember, the reality you experience always starts from within. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your energy. Hold on to that power because it's already yours. Which of these signs hit home for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real and straightforward guidance on mastering your reality.